Hello, this is my Biology 111 project titled Ethanol, a look into a common biofuel, a breakdown of what it is, how it's made, and what we can do with it. To start, what is ethanol? Ethanol is a biofuel that's made from biomasses such as corn, grains, food waste, algae, or any other starches whose sugars can be fermented into an alcohol through yeast. One of the most common uses for it is in gasoline blends. A recent study showed that ethanol is used in more than 98% of gasoline products in the US, so it is very readily available to the public. There are several different types of ethanol, which are a result of adding different blends of gasoline to create things like E10 and E85, which are two common types of ethanol-induced gasolines. So moving on, how is ethanol made? Ethanol production consists of 6 main steps. In this presentation, I'm focusing on a corn-based ethanol because it's the most common in America. The process for other ethanols might be slightly different from this one, depending on what it's made with, but overall, it will still have the 6 main components. Starting off, we have milling. Milling is when the corn is ground into meal by removing the bran and germ from the plant and grinding the remaining starch. Next is liquefaction, where the ground meal is mixed with water and other liquids. This is to break down those insoluble starch molecules and make them into a mash that can be easily fermented. Next is saccharification, where the starch mash is further condensed into a simple sugar liquid called wort, using enzymatic processes to finish the prep for fermentation. Fermentation is the next step, and that's where the wort is mixed with yeast to convert the sugars into ethanol and carbon dioxide. The 2 main processes during this are glycolysis and reduction reactions. Next, the ethanol is distilled. This means that the pure ethanol is heated up to separate it from the water we added before. The evaporated ethanol is then collected and returned to a liquid state. The last step of this process is denaturation. The small amount of methanol is mixed with the ethanol to make it toxic and prevent the ethanol from being used to make alcoholic beverages. This is important because if the ethanol is used in that way, it can be considered a tax evasion, which wouldn't be good for the production companies. So what are some benefits to using ethanol? Ethanol, like mentioned before, is a highly available biofuel because it is made from starch and sugar-based natural materials, which essentially means we could have an infinite supply if we had enough funding and food waste. The production process also used pretty basic chemical processes, such as distillation, so it's overall an easy thing to do compared to other biofuels. Ethanol is also a fully developed and highly studied fuel. We have researched ethanol production for years and have created specific blends and types for different applications, making it very common in everyday life. Recent studies have shown that ethanol's impact on the carbon footprint has recently decreased compared to gasoline, especially in corn-based ethanols, in which some cases this can have a net zero carbon emission, meaning the production of ethanol harms the environment less than other biofuels. The economic impact of ethanol overall is pretty good. A 2023 study showed that ethanol production contributed $54 billion in gross domestic product and supplied over 400,000 jobs in the US. Overall, ethanol is a great choice of biofuel to use for fuel and energy. I believe that with further testing, we can continue to decrease the impact that ethanol production has on the environment. Because of the fermentation and distillation processes, there are infinite ways for us to tweak the recipe and create new percentages and blends of ethanol products to power our cars. If funding was not an issue, I would recommend we start producing more ethanol products and work on finding new ways to reduce the carbon emissions so that ethanol can be more readily available to the public without the risk of environmental damages. Here are my sources, and thank you so much for watching.